Okay, so we just got out of Johnny Somali's third court day here in the beautiful yet rainy Seoul, South Korea. And it's safe to say, last time things went terrible for him. Today things went awful, and honestly kind of embarrassing because a lot of the stuff they did not make sense whatsoever. Clearly, he was way more locked in. He realized how much he screwed up now, it seems like, and he's realizing, uh-oh, I might be stuck in prison for a long time.
The self-proclaimed king of chaos has finally run out of get-out-of-jail cards. Johnny Somali, real name Ramsey Khalid Ismael, has pleaded guilty to 4 obstruction charges in a Seoul courtroom, and with that single admission, he guaranteed himself 5 years behind bars and a bill for $37,000. This isn't a fine he can laugh off during a live stream or spin into content. It's a cold, hard symbol that the reckless provocateur, who once thrived on being untouchable, is about to learn how it feels when a nation decides enough is enough. And that's before we even get to the looming deepfake case, the one hanging over him like a guillotine, threatening to stack on another 7 years and bring his total sentence to a staggering 12. For a man who once ran through cities shouting into his camera with smug certainty, the confidence is gone. All that remains is the ticking clock of South Korea's justice system.
So today, at least, he was very serious. So, currently he's facing 8 counts, or 8 charges, and 4 of which are obstruction of businesses, 2 of which are misdemeanors. He pled guilty to all 6 of those charges. Then, you have the 2 big charges, which are the deepfakes charges, and the deepfake charges are for distributing the deepfakes.
We have to remember Johnny Somali built his brand on the idea that chaos equals content. From taunting strangers in Japan with atomic bomb jokes, to pouring instant noodles across a convenience store counter in Seoul, to harassing passengers on buses and trains, he treated whole nations as props for his show. For years, he wore his provocations like armor. Even in court, he strolled in late, intoxicated the night before, wearing that red hat with 3 little letters that he clearly hoped would turn him into a political pawn rather than a criminal defendant. But South Korea wasn't laughing. With prosecutors who boast a 90% win rate in these cases, and a public whose patience wore out months ago, the empire of cheap antics is collapsing fast. The man who mocked Hiroshima, who smeared baby oil on comfort woman statues, who danced shirtless around memorials of wartime suffering, now faces his own reckoning. His slogan could be rewritten in real time, from Make America Great Again to Make Johnny Face the Music.
And that extends the whole trial process by easily 2 to 3 months. So if he just pleaded guilty to that, things would be over pretty quickly. He would get his sentence and he would at least know what his fate is. But now they're deciding to extend the process for no real upside, and by him not pleading guilty, that just makes the sentence even harsher on him.
The financial penalty alone tells a story. $37,000 may not sound like Hollywood money, but for Somali, it is devastating. Legal experts say his defense bills in South Korea are already climbing into 6-figure territory. And he can't stream his way out of debt because he's banned from leaving the country. Every court date drags him deeper into a hole. The fine is more than just a punishment. It's a receipt stamped with the word consequences. A reminder that real life isn't a stage where donations scroll by and laughter drowns out accountability. And as one lawyer following the case noted, repeat offenders don't get mercy in Korean courts, they get maximum punishment. Somali is now officially in that category. But the most explosive turn came when one of his alleged victims filed a formal petition demanding the court give Somali the harshest sentence possible. The petition described harm, lack of remorse, and no reconciliation. 3 factors that, if upheld, could push his time behind bars from a few years into the realm of double digits. Imagine being on a bus when a grown man with a live stream audience of thousands disrupts the journey with vulgar noise and verbal jab. Or picture being in an amusement park with your family while a stranger uses robotic voice messages to spew inappropriate commentary near children. These aren't harmless pranks. They're invasions of public safety and dignity, and now the victims are fighting back. South Korea's courts require clear proof of harm, and that is exactly what the petitioner is building. With every line in that document, the weight on Somali's shoulders grows heavier.
Ramsey Khalid Ismael has been hit with a new criminal charge. That's right. As of 2 days ago, on the 25th of July of 2025, we have a new criminal charge for Johnny Somali, aka Ramsey Khalid Ismael.
As if the legal filings weren't enough, whispers are spreading about what some insiders call the secret deportation bargain. Rumor has it Somali's camp is scrambling behind the scenes, trying to broker a deal that would send him back to the United States before the gavel comes down. On the surface, it looks like desperation. Better to face probation or lighter charges in his home country than gamble on a Korean sentence that could stretch into the next decade. But here's the scandalous twist. Such a deal, if it ever existed, would be seen as undermining South Korea's sovereignty. Politicians have already debated his antics in parliament. The public has physically attacked him in the streets. An online bounty was placed on his head to encourage locals to punch him during his streams. Can anyone really believe Seoul's courts would let him slip away now just to avoid more courtroom spectacle? If the whispers are true, then Somali's team is trying to play chess, while the prosecution is playing checkmate.
This is called merging in a charge. It is atypical for this to happen once, but it is completely unprecedented from the people I've talked to, lawyers, others in this process, to see this many merged into the case, which really means they are hitting him and with needles and needles and needles procedurally.
And the chessboard only gets darker when we move to the allegations about deep fake abuse. Somali is accused of generating an AI video featuring a female streamer in a compromising situation, and that single act could turn his notoriety into a legal precedent. Artificial intelligence is still a gray zone in law, but here we have a case that could define how nations prosecute digital exploitation in the future. This isn't just about one man's downfall. It could become the test case that sets boundaries on AI content across Asia. For Somali, that means his 5-year sentence may only be the prologue. If convicted on the deepfake charges, the penalty could extend another 7 years, pushing him into a total of 12 behind bars. 12 years for a man who once boasted that nothing could stop him, not even foreign governments. 12 years for someone who laughed at history's darkest chapters, but never thought he'd become a footnote in legal textbooks himself.
We have a trend that I called out in the beginning, and I said this would happen, and exactly as I predicted, we are seeing new charges added right before each court date. Every single...
The public reaction in Korea has been blistering. Clips of Somali kissing comfort woman statues, playing North Korean anthems on trains, and mocking elderly store clerks have sparked outrage not just online but in official government chambers. Lawmakers have openly discussed drafting new bills to crack down on so-called nuisance streamers, citing Somali as the example of why stricter measures are needed. This is not the kind of fame any influencer dreams of. He is not a pioneer of online entertainment. He has become a cautionary tale. And the irony? His own arrogance keeps feeding the fire. Even as charges stacked up, he live-streamed himself in underwear, shouted nonsense in Seoul's streets, and insisted that his American passport was a shield. That shield is cracking. A Bangkok-based attorney covering the case bluntly stated, the U.S. State Department will not intervene. For once, Somali is truly on his own.
For people out there, this is the sentencing range before today. It changes wildly, and you're going to see in the best way. And that's the best way for me and those who want Johnny Somali convicted, and the worst way for Johnny Somali after this one is added.
When we peel back the layers, what emerges is a man trapped in the consequences of his own design. He wanted to be larger than life, the global provocateur who couldn't be silenced. Instead, he is banned from leaving South Korea, barred from streaming on major platforms, and drowning in fines and legal motions. His apology videos where he claims cultural ignorance or calls himself a young man who wants to grow have been dismissed as insincere, especially since he leaves offensive posts up on social media while begging for forgiveness in the same breath. It's the oldest trick in the influencer playbook. Apologize with one hand while feeding your audience controversy with the other. But this time, the audience isn't laughing. It's the prosecution, and their verdict carries more weight than any subscriber count ever could.
In fact, we can see this thing go as quickly as going into, let's say, October, November, maybe it could end, or it could go into 2026. It's very, very possible that can happen at this point. It really all depends on how this plays out, and also on how Johnny pleads.
And yet, what really keeps this saga boiling is the sense that we're only halfway up the roller coaster. New charges are still rumored to be in the pipeline, from blasting North Korean propaganda in public to inappropriate conduct in your families at amusement parks. Each one carries the potential to extend his prison term even further, and each one chips away at his last remnants of bravado. He may still wear the red hat, he may still swagger in front of cameras, but the countdown has begun. His 5-year sentence is locked in, his $37,000 fine is on the books, and the deepfake case waits like a storm cloud on the horizon. We are watching a man who built a career on disrupting public peace, now staring at a future where peace is enforced by iron bars and concrete walls.
Anyway, Johnny Somali was arrested partially for his own safety because after days of him streaming himself being incredibly rude and disruptive in South Korea, there were literally hundreds of Asian people on the street all hunting down a black guy to sucker punch.
What happened next could have been ripped straight out of a dystopian movie. The public outrage didn't stay confined to online comment sections or courtroom petitions, it spilled into the streets. South Korean YouTubers, online forums, and even everyday citizens turned into a kind of bounty hunter network, When Somali went live, people were already coordinating his location, tracking him through screenshots, and sharing pins in group chats. The moment he appeared on a subway platform or convenience store camera, someone was already sprinting toward him. One local influencer even posted a 1 million won bounty, just under $800, promising cash to anyone who managed to land a punch during his stream. And people took the offer seriously. We watched clips of Somali being smacked in the face mid-broadcast, his arrogant smirk breaking into raw shock as strangers who had had enough of his antics took matters into their own hands. The audience he once commanded with chaos was now tuning in to see him hunted down, cornered, and humiliated. It wasn't content anymore, it was payback. And the streets of Seoul became the stage for poetic justice.
Johnny Somali is frequently getting arrested in foreign countries for his on-stream behavior, but they always let him go. With the amount of sentences this guy's avoided, you'd think he's autistic.
This strange transformation of Somali's career into a live-action chase scene only fueled the fascination. What began as one man exploiting cultural boundaries for attention evolved into a whole community that refused to let him slip into anonymity. For many South Koreans, it wasn't about clout or clicks. It was about restoring dignity. Every time he mocked a statue, or poured noodles in a store, or blasted offensive music on public transport, he chipped away at the patience of people who were otherwise known for restraint. By the time the bounty post went viral, restraint was gone. Somali himself didn't help his case. Instead of retreating, he doubled down, filming himself bruised, drunk, staggering late into court, as though trying to convince his dwindling followers that he was untouchable. But the truth was playing out in real time. He was more isolated than ever, surrounded by locals who were no longer passive bystanders, but participants in his downfall.
A kick streamer is facing 20 years in a South Korean prison after filming himself harassing women, trashing businesses, and disrespecting war monuments.
While the physical confrontations made headlines, the AI scandal carried a different kind of weight. His alleged creation of an explicit deepfake featuring a South Korean streamer has been described by experts as a potential landmark case. Until now, digital manipulation often skirted the gray edges of the law, but here, prosecutors have something concrete. An alleged video generated by Somali himself, distributed without consent, targeting a real person. Legal commentators have already suggested this trial could shape how courts worldwide handle AI abuse, drawing lines between creative freedom and exploitation. One Seoul-based attorney argued that, if convicted, Somali wouldn't just be punished for his crime, he would become the precedent. And in the world of internet law, becoming the precedent means your name lives on in every future trial, every policy draft, every debate about what digital misconduct really means.
So he was living in Japan for a while, and one night he gets drunk and he live streams himself putting on a fake Asian accent, and he starts saying racist things on the subway.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we destroy it because you don't know how to behave. You know Hiroshima and Nagasaki? We're gonna do it again.
It's chilling to think how casually Somali dabbled in technology with consequences so serious. AI tools that millions of creators use for harmless entertainment became, in his hands, a weapon. And now, the entire internet is forced to look at the fallout. South Korea is already weighing stricter laws, with parliamentary sessions referencing Somali's case directly. This is the sort of infamy that outlives prison time. Even if he serves 5, 10, or 12 years, his name is tied to the moment a nation cracked down on AI-generated abuse. The irony is sharp. Somali wanted to be remembered as the provocateur, the ultimate nuisance streamer who couldn't be ignored. And now, he will be remembered, but not as a rebel entertainer. He will be remembered as the reason lawmakers took a sledgehammer to the loopholes of digital law.
Although Johnny is incredibly good at getting out of things. For example, somehow he was able to leave Israel a free man after he was arrested for harassing a military police officer.
And then there are the darker whispers, the rumors that stretch beyond nuisance streaming and into the shadows of politics. Somali's obsession with blasting North Korean propaganda in public has sparked speculation that his antics may carry more sinister implications. Playing the anthem of the DPRK on buses and in subway stations might have started as a joke for donations, but prosecutors are reportedly considering whether it violates South Korea's National Security Act. Legal Mindset, the American lawyer who has been following the trial closely, pointed out that repeated use of North Korean propaganda could bring up to 7 years in prison. But here's the twist. Some observers are going further, wondering aloud if Somali's constant use of DPRK imagery is just stupidity, or if he has become a pawn in a bigger game. Was he simply rage-baiting for donations, or was he being used, knowingly or not, to push divisive messaging on one of the world's most tense borders? The idea of Johnny Somali, self-proclaimed king of chaos, stumbling into the role of an unwitting propaganda tool is as outrageous as it is terrifying.
My guess is police have been looking for an excuse to bring him down for a long time. And finally, he did something.
We need to consider the scale of what's unfolding. Somali is no longer just an obnoxious internet personality facing fines. He is at the center of a perfect storm, targeted by citizens who literally chase him through city streets, scrutinized by lawmakers ready to change national laws because of him, and possibly tangled in accusations of pushing content that edges into espionage territory. His story has gone from internet sideshow to geopolitical cautionary tale. And the more we learn, the clearer it becomes that his legal nightmare is only beginning. The obstruction charges are locked in, the $37,000 fine is stamped and sealed, but the investigations are still multiplying, new allegations keep surfacing, anti-terror laws, inappropriate behavior near families, substance possession, and now the whispers of deeper connections to propaganda. So the question we leave hanging is this: has Johnny Somali finally written the last chapter of his chaotic career, or has he accidentally cast himself as a character in a much larger story, one that goes beyond nuisance streaming and into the realm of history books? Will his name be remembered only as a reckless prankster who got what he deserved? Or will he stand as the first warning shot in the battle over AI abuse and digital propaganda? We want to hear your verdict. What does justice look like in a case like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, the line between spectacle and scandal is always thinner than it looks.